Neville Goddard, 1968 lectures. Live in the end. I dare say this is July 19th, 1968. It is a lecture that's not in Natalie's book, so I'm reading it out of order. I need it for another project, so here it is. July 19th, 1968, live in the end. I dare say that everyone here would say yes to the statement of Scripture, with God, all things are possible. Mark 10:27. I don't think you'd be here if you did not believe in God and the God to whom all things are possible. But maybe we stop right there and we separate man from God. And my purpose is to show you that we are not two, that we are one, that God actually became man, that man may become God. To me, this is one of the most profound understandings once you accept this red pill that he became you and went to sleep in you and is trying to awaken in you. Once you accept that idea, it changes everything. I promise you. You will be just never the same again because it is the most profound understanding, in my humble opinion. So let us tonight give you my reasons for my claims. We turn to the book of John, the Gospel of John, and we are, Gospel of John, and we are told that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That's John 1:14. Well, that's a mistranslation. The word translated among is the Greek preposition in, within. The Word became flesh and dwelt within us. In us, John 1:14. John used the plural us for the nature whereof we consist. That the Word of God, which is defined in Scripture as the creative power of God and the wisdom of God, did not take upon itself person among men, for then that one assumed would have advanced and no more. But Christ, to save all, did not make this man or that man his habitation, but dwelt in us. In us. That same creative word that created the universe and sustains it dwells in us! Exclamation point. Therefore, with God, all things are possible. Mark 10:27. And therefore, with man, all things are possible. So he states it in one book, Matthew, with God, all things are possible. But in Mark, he states it, all things are possible to him, meaning man who believes. Can man believe? So this creative word is in us. Well, what is the creative word? It's your own wonderful human imagination! Exclamation point. That's Christ in man. Man is all imagination and God is man and exists in us and we in him. Everything is you pushed out is him. We exist in him. He exists in us. Close these and you're right there with him. You don't have to go very far at all. And when you open these, you see nothing but him. It's all consciousness. That's him. We are in him as he is in us. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is Christ himself, the divine body, Jesus, and we are his members. So when you say, I am, that's he. Now, can you believe that you are now the man that you would like to be, though at the moment of your assumption, reason denies it? Can you believe that you are the man that you want to be, although reason denies it? You have to think on this deeper level because what you're denying If everything is you pushed out and all this consciousness is him, then you have to deny him to then believe in him to be this other image. Let's see. So when you say I am, that's he. Now I'm repeating. Can you believe that you are now the man that you would like to be, though at the moment of your assumption, reason denies it and your senses deny it? Can you really conceive a scene which, if true, would imply the fulfillment of your dream? Just imagine it. Just imagine it. Certainly you can imagine it, but the problem is, will you believe it? Will you believe in the reality of the thing imagined? If I could this very moment imagine myself into a state, any state at all, and dwell in it, well, now, what is dwelling in it? Well, I'm dwelling in it. Well, that's Christ! Exclamation point. And that is the resurrecting power of the universe. So if I remain in a state, I will resurrect it and objectify it in my world. But I have to select it and enter the state. If the spectator could enter into any of these states in his imagination, approaching the state on the fiery chariot of his contemplative thought, what would it be like were it true? How would I feel were I now the man that I would like to be? How would I know that I could become it? Well, first, as I assume that I am it, let me think of my friends, those who really would rejoice with me were it true. Let me imagine I am seeing them in my mind's eye. How do they see me? If what I am assuming is true, they should see me as I am seeing myself. And if they are my friends, they should rejoice with me. So let me now assume that I am seeing reflected on the face of a friend that which, if I saw it, would imply he sees in me that which I have assumed that I am. Will that work? Try it. I tell you from my own personal experience, it works. That's Neville. And I tell you from my own experience, it works. It works really well. When you imagine a friend congratulating you and you hear their voice and you high five them, you hug them, whatever you do, you feel their presence, that works big time. As we are told in Corinthians, do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail to meet the test. 2 Corinthians 13:5 in Moffat's translation. Now we are challenged. He says, come test yourself and see. 2 Corinthians 13:5, Moffat. Well, this is how I test myself. If Christ is in me, and all things are possible to Christ, then I must find out who he is. Well, I have found him as my own wonderful human imagination. And because he dwells not only in me, he dwells in us. Everything is possible to everyone in the world. And so you help man best by telling him who Christ is. You could give him all the things in the world that he needs. He'll come back for more tomorrow unless he knows who Christ is. And there we've just tripped over the crux of this channel. We've just tripped over the crux of me trying not to feed you fish. This is the entire point of everything. We need to learn to be master fishermen, to be bangers at fishing, ballers. I have found him as my own wonderful human imagination, and because he dwells not only in me, he dwells in us. Everything is possible to everyone in the world. And so you help man best by telling him who Christ is. You could give him all the things in the world that he needs. He'll come back for more tomorrow unless he knows who Christ is. You can give the entire world to any one of them. They'll spend it, waste it, if they don't know who they are. But tell them who he is, and he doesn't need anything more than the knowledge of who he is and the application of that knowledge. For we are the operant power. It doesn't work itself. I can tell you that your imagination is Christ. And maybe you'll believe me, but unless you actually take it to the point of working upon it and operating it, it means nothing. I was watching a TV show last night. I forget what we were watching. Sometimes we watch TV just to be together and just finish off the day. We were watching something, some meaningless TV, whatever it was. I don't remember. Can't even remember what it was. But I know it was programming. At a certain level, there's programming involved. And it was reminding me how much we are having to take ourselves into an understanding that he is in us, because most of the programming that we have exposed to, have been exposed to, have exposed ourselves to, we create our own reality. So we are exposing ourselves to a world, and that in that world we have a lot of programming that actually says or reminds you that you aren't of value. And I always make the argument, if you want to know how valuable you are, dive into your friend's pool and go down and hold your breath in the bottom of the water and find out how long you can stay down there without breath. At the moment you need breath, you'll find out instantly how valuable you are. There will be no question about value anymore in that 1 millisecond of realization that if you don't get to the top of that pool immediately, you're going to drown. You're going to suck water into your lungs. This could be very difficult. You could be alone. Friends could be there. People who don't know how to get water out of your lungs. This could be a horrible situation. But in that moment, all that might flash through your mind, but you know exactly how valuable you are. Exactly. And do you think it means millions or billions or trillions? Do you think it has a number? In that moment when you need that breath, do you think money is the question? If that's what you think, oh man, it should be what you think, that you are worth billions and trillions, because it's friggin' true. Totally true. Totally, totally, totally true. What one person has the capacity of is beyond even comprehending or even imagining numbers wise. But in that brilliant flash, while you're wanting that breath, you don't want just money. You want it all, because you are that valuable and the experience is that valuable. In that moment of needing that breath, you'll find out instantly how valuable all of this is. So you can be told it. If you don't apply it, you're not finding the value. Some of us could find the value for a minute, get that parking spot, get that boyfriend to text you back or girlfriend to text you back. You might find it, but you don't hold on to it. Oh, they would have texted me back anyway. Oh, I would have parked there anyway. I would have climbed the ladder no matter what. We have ladders everywhere here at work, whatever it is. But you don't realize you found him, you applied him, and it does work. And once you work it so often, let's just say it's a parking space. Just for the fun of experience, let's talk about that, because it's the best one, the simplest one, and the one that has no value to this super impact you want, to be married, to be wealthy, to be healthy. Let's just use a parking space. You start manifesting your parking space. You start parking right in front of the restaurant. I just sent a picture of a parking spot recently to one of my best friends, and he responded like, "Where did you do this?" And I said, "At such and such a place." And it becomes, after you start manifesting these things like a parking spot, it becomes a thing you don't even think about anymore. That whole conversation where when he walked by, everybody was healed is what we're talking about. Once you are used to imagining lovingly for others, then in those situations, you don't even have to consciously manifest for the other. Just your presence brings it. The idea of that parking space, your presence brings its availability to you because everything on the outside is you pushed out. Now you've been manifesting the parking spot, manifesting it, success, success, success. Before you know it, it becomes unconscious. Unconscious. It has to start somewhere. We are learning here together to become conscious creators, not just willy-nilly unconscious creators where we can blame and point fingers. No, we're not. We're past that now. Let's continue. I'm going to repeat the last half of the last sentence. Unless you actually take it to the point of working upon it and operating it, it means nothing. Well, if this night I really believe it, I would not allow the sun to go down in my sleep unless I feel myself right into the situation of the wish fulfilled. It need not be a wish for myself. It could be a wish for a friend, for everyone in the world, because Christ dwells in all. Christ is the true identity of every man. Then everyone must be, myself, pushed out. There can't be another God. There can't be another if God is one. There can't be another. Therefore, I tell myself as the seeming other what I would do if I were you. And instead of giving him the thing that he needs physically, tell him how to get it for himself. What would you feel like if now you were the man that you want to be? How would you see the world if things were as you desire them to be? This is what I mean by living in the end. Robert Frost, just a year before he departed this sphere, wrote this story for Life magazine. And he said, the founding fathers did not believe in the future. What a shock. They did not believe in the future. They believed it in. They didn't believe in the future as a separate place. You see my description in the law series of videos of the present moment, you have the past moment, and the future moment. It's all one moment. It can't be a separate moment. It's got to be now. It can't be any other thing. They believed it in. They didn't believe in a future because that would be leaving the present moment. That would get the tense wrong. That would say, I will. We're not going there around here anymore. They believed it in. He said, we are always imagining ahead of our evidence. And the most creative thing in man is to believe a thing in. They had no evidence to support their claim to democracy. They were under a king when they threw the king away and began to simply build a concept of the future. They did not believe that the mere passage of time would bring them that dream. They believed it in. And these men believed implicitly in the Word of God. And they believe that if I know what I want when I pray, believe that I have received it and I will. Well, if that precept is true, literally true, to be accepted literally and fulfilled literally, well, then what am I doing not believing? I should actually know exactly what I would like to be. And discovering what I would like to be against what I seem to be, dare to assume that I am it. And my assumption, though false, if persisted in, would harden into fact. That's from Anthony Eden. Nice last name. That I know from my own experience, and I know it's a law. Therefore, if someone is not becoming the man that he would like to be, and they tell me, well, I once imagined it and it didn't work, then what are you doing now and still not imagining it? This is the biggest question. Seth, the teacher Seth that I'm always talking about, because I've spent so many years studying Seth and studying his transactions with the ESP class students of Jane Roberts. One student was asking why he wasn't getting the money in his life. The whole question of wealth. The recent poll we had up. And Seth had the funniest answer. He says you can't sit there and the way Seth talks is a weird sound, and I'll try and mimic him, but he said something like this. He said his answer to the student about why they're not having the money in their life because they are focusing on it, their beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. And Seth says, you can't do this 5 minutes and then start saying, where's the money? 5 minutes? Now, on another level, we know time doesn't exist. It's all now. But in your now, what have you been focusing on? We're taking and retraining our ability to focus without the noise. And what he just said right there. Let me repeat it. That I know from my own experience, and I know it's a law. Therefore, if someone is not becoming the man that he would like to be, and they tell me, well, I once imagined it and it didn't work, then what are you doing now and still not imagining it? This is as simple as that parking spot. If you're going to imagine it and continue to imagine it, it's going to, before you know it, you're right in front every time. It won't even be a discussion anymore between you and your mate. You'll just pull up. It's your world. It's always been your world. Always. Back to the thing I was going to say about watching TV. It's like as if a lot of these shows have a lot of these pew, 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 and a lot of this stabbing and violence. And we stick to the rom-coms, but some of the other action movies have a lot of gratuitous, ignoble concepts upon each other. And it's that kind of programming that has you thinking and believing that you aren't the crown of value. It's as if you forgot he is you. Because if you remembered he is you, he can't be sick, he can't be poor, and he can't be lonely. He is you. He can't be any of these things. Because he is all. All. It's all one. God is one. We are part of the one. We are infinite abundance. There is no lack. So in my contemplative thought, I had to remind myself, boy, oh boy, what a situation where let's say we're someone that believes in lack and not healthy and in poverty and in loneliness. Let's say we believe in those things. Well, something had to do that. You had to expose yourself to something to see yourself these ways. And if you see yourself not of health, not of wealth, and not of love, then something got in here. You are the operant power. Now, we're not going to sit here and blame anybody. You can't point a finger because you got three pointing back at you. We're going to sit here and take responsibility for our current position and start to work the operant power. I once imagined it and it didn't work. Then what are you doing now and still not imagining it? Keep imagining it. If imagining creates reality, what are you imagining? One of my favorite things that Neville asks in this one lecture. What are you imagining now? For if Christ is the only creative power in the universe, and I identify him with my own imagination, well, then my imagination is creating reality. So what am I imagining? Pick up the morning's paper and I'm fed with everything I should not feast upon. all the horrors of the world, all the negative states of the world after having read it for an hour, then I must either regurgitate it or in some strange way rub it out, because I can't go through life feeding upon such nonsense. But if I really know what I want, what you want, what we want, and persuade myself that we have it, if my premise is sound that imagining creates reality, I should, in the not distant future, hear you tell me that it's worked for you, and another one tells me, and I in turn tell you, and go through life sharing this marvelous news to others. So I say, live as though it were true. Just as though it were true. That passage of Shakespeare, we have been taught from the primal state that he which is was wished until he were. Here we find it in Caesar. He which is was wished until he were. Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. He wasn't born Caesar the king, but here was an ambition fulfilled because he was wished into it. He desired it, lived in the state, and everything reshuffled itself to conform to that state to which he was faithful. I see it in my immediate circle. Those who you would not even think for one moment would become prominent, but they desire to be prominent. Those who desire to be successful as they conceive success. No two see success in the same manner. Some see it through the eyes of wealth, others through rising in some profession, others in some other manner. Well, whatever they conceive it to be, they now realize it if night after night they sleep in the assumption that they are now what they would like to be. So we go back. If the word is truly the word that creates the system in which we live, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. John 1:1. By him all things were made, and without him was not anything made that was made. John 1:3. No, not even the so-called unlovely things. For if all things were made, he has to be responsible for the unlovely things as well. So we are told in Scripture, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Deuteronomy 32:39. I create the blessing, I create the curses, but now I must choose life. Choose the lovely things, but don't say there's another creator. For if there is another creator, then we are in conflict. So my own imagination can conjure unlovely things if I dwell upon them. Or the lovely things. But there can't be two gods. There can't be two creators. And if I can find that creator and identify him with my own wonderful human imagination, then I can't pass the buck. I can't turn to anything and blame it for the things happening in my life. I know many of us are not discriminating, and when we see our own harvest, we don't recognize it. We can't conceive that we, in some strange manner, permitted these things to be entertained by us. But we did it! Exclamation point. It could not have come to pass in any other way. So if I believe it and accept it, well, then I will live by it. And then when I know what I want for anyone, and this goes for everything in this world, if you watch a rom-com or if you watch a Hallmark Channel movie and you see a couple come together and live happily ever after in the theme of the movie, and it ends on a very happy and high note, that's wonderful. But when you watch another movie and it has discord between the relationship of these two people, and they had a kid and now they're fighting and one sleeps with another or whatever happens and they break up, now you learn to replay that tape in your head. Whatever you're putting in here, you're busy imagining. And you don't realize it because if you're not using your imagination, someone else is. That program is going to use your imagination. You then will repeat and regurgitate, you'll parrot that experience you're seeing in the programming. You must program yourself. There's a lot coming in if you're not going to use your imagination with concerted effort, active. Use your imagination in an active way. Deny reason, deny senses, and see that you are the person you want to be. Then you're going to if you don't do that, you're going to let other information come in here and program the way you think you're supposed to act. And then you act that way and you don't realize that it's programming you picked up because you're not using your imagination to aim and get to your desire, to be the person you wish to be. You're leaving your imagination empty and it's being fulfilled, it's being filled in, backfilled by other programming. There's a large piece here of thinking for yourself, taking charge of your mind and being the operant power of your imagination. What Neville has been repeating over and over and over and over again. Let me see. I might be repeating, so let's. But we did. It could not have come to pass in any other way. So if I believe it and accept it, well, then I live by it. And then when I know what I want for anyone, and this goes for everything in this world, well, then now, this very instant, you desire happiness in marriage. You say, well, there's not one person in my world that's eligible. I know no one. You don't have to know anyone. All you have to do is decide within yourself, in here, what you want. Now, what would you do if it were true? Would you wear a ring on the one finger that would imply that someone placed it there? One that you admire? Well, then wear it there. Don't wear a physical ring. Put it on just as though he had placed it there and sleep feeling that which you are feeling is real. He's saying here, to be specific, don't go get a ring. If you're single and you want to be married, don't go get a ring and put it on your finger. Imagine it, the imaginary ring on your imaginary finger here. So when you're asleep and you're touching it with your imaginary hand on your imaginary ring on your imaginary other hand as you're falling asleep. That's in your imagination. Don't say it's all imagination. Certainly it is, because all imagination is Christ. Therefore, it's all reality. So when you say that's only my imagination, well, you're just saying that's only a thing called Christ when you treat imagination that way. Is there anything in this world that wasn't first imagined? Name one thing or point at one thing in this world for me that is now considered to be real that wasn't first only imagined. What is now proved was once only imagined. Therefore, this is a true statement. All things were made by him. John 1:3. And he is your own wonderful human imagination. All objective reality is solely produced through imagining. The clothes you wear, the chairs on which you are seated, this in which we are now placed, everything was once only imagined. Now, tonight, find out exactly what you, not what they think you ought to want, what you want. Ask no one's permission. You don't need anyone's permission. You only need your own decision. What do I want? Now, what would it be like if it were true? Now, catch the mood and try to give that mood all the sensory vividness of reality, all the tones of reality, and then sleep in it just as though it were true, and then await the inevitable. The inevitable is that you are going to resurrect it and objectify it on the screen of space. It's going to project out there. And then the world will call it real. And they may not believe you. It doesn't really matter. If you tell them it came to pass because you simply imagined it, no, they will point to the series of events that led up to it. And they will give credit to the bridge of incidents across which you walk towards the fulfillment of that state. and they will point out some physical ring that was the cause, physical thing that was the cause. No, the cause is invisible. For the cause is God, and God is invisible to mortal eye. Who knows what you are imagining? No one knows, but you sit down and imagine, and no one can stop you from doing it. But can give you, excuse me, but you sit down and imagine, and no one can stop you from doing it. But can you give reality to the imagined state? If you do, yes, a bridge of incidents will appear in your world, and you will walk across some series of events leading up to the fulfillment of the imaginal state. But don't give causation to any physical step that you took towards the fulfillment of it. You imagine having yourself a marvelous business, and then comes the day a building is for sale and you haven't a nickel towards it, and not a total stranger, but a man comes in and asks you quite in a friendly manner, are you going to buy it? And knowing you don't have a penny, you say to him, as would a friend to a friend, with what? And then he says, well, I have money. It's only in the bank drawing nothing. You say, well, I have no collateral. But he says, I've watched you. You're an honest person. Your family, they are honest. I think they are. Would you like me to buy it for you and get my lawyer to bid for it? If they knew that I am bidding, they know I have money, they will bid me up. So I will get it at the very lowest price by getting a lawyer who represents more than one client. And they do not know whom he represents. And he'll bid for it. Are you willing to take it regardless of the price? And you say, yes, I'll take it, but I have no collateral. All I need is your signature that you will simply pay 6% of whatever the price is and then reduce that principal over a period of 10 years. Agreed? Yes. Well, then sign this and we'll see if we can buy it. That day you own the building. Now, you weren't sitting there stuck. This is Victor Goddard, who got the building for his family's business with his father to be the grocers and ultimately supply cruise ships. They're now called Goddard Enterprises, I believe. They even have wine in England. Victor didn't do anything but see their name on the building. He didn't sit there and dwell on the idea that he doesn't have money. He didn't look at his wallet empty. He only went to the end, which is everything that sign implied is active. So all he did was go to the end. Goddard and Sons or Goddard Enterprises, whatever he imagined. Then a guy steps in and buys the building because he likes him. All he did was go to the end for 2 years, going on his way to work and going on his way home. Then now they have the biggest, it's worth billions, I believe, now, today, I believe. That day you own the building and you don't have one nickel when you own the building that day. You only had your signature on a piece of paper. At the end of the 10 years, you repay the man his principal. You reduce it every year, pay him 6% on the remaining principal, and reduce the entire thing at the end of 10 years. The man died 20 years later and leaves you $150,000 in cash. This would be in the 40s because I believe the building was bought in the 20s. $150,000 in cash, tax-free, and a couple of homes, many personal belongings. In the meanwhile, you continue in that business and it multiplies and multiplies. And that year was 1922 and 1924. This is now 1968. Some 45 years later. That building, I'm speaking factually, that building in 1924 is now gone. He paid only $50,000 for it. It was repaid and repaid. A bank 3 years ago bought the property. The building was rotted. Bought the property for $840,000 in cash. That would be 1968. 67. No, 3 years ago. That would be 1965. So you got to times that number by 10. 65 to now, from what we did in a previous video, I mentioned it. So 840,000 is 8.4 million. All he did, Victor, was see the name of their family on that sign. Goddard Enterprises or Goddard and Sons. That's all he did. By 1965, 8.4 million later, today's dollars, 840,000 still. Imagine 8.4 million right now. That's what we're talking about. 1965, when that building sold with no capital gains tax, $840,000. But excuse me, let me repeat the sentence. A bank 3 years ago bought the property. The building was rotted. Bought the property for $840,000 in cash and no capital gain, from $50,000 to $840,000. And again, it wasn't in Victor's pocket. It wasn't in Joseph Nathaniel Goddard's pocket. It was in imagination. Meanwhile, the business has expanded into all the other islands so that today you couldn't buy them for $15 million. All in imagination! Exclamation point. And this goes back to the imagination that preceded this man's offer to buy the building. For the young man seeing this building and entertaining the thought that the present owners deceived his father and through deception got him out of a partnership, a junior partnership, and he was moved not to get even, but to prove that he really had something within him and could be a success in spite of this deception. I think Neville said that there. He meant he really had something in him, meaning this man's father, which would be Victor's father, which would be Neville's father. And he was moved not to get even, but to prove that he really had something within him and could be a success in spite of this deception, because it was the father that was booted out of that other partnership. So every day he would see on that marquee not their name, the old business owners, but his own family's name, and he would see it in his mind's eye, because you could not take their name and transliterate it and make it spell this man's family's name, but he saw it. In his mind's eye, he saw that name, which, if true, would imply the family owned it. He did it every day, twice a day for 2 years. And then came this sudden, out of nowhere, and the whole thing was made possible, and today they are all over the islands, and they have no partners. They have never taken in one partner, never sold one bit of stock outside of the family's ownership, all by imagination. Now, I know what I'm talking about because I am a member of that family. I am speaking of my own family. This is not hearsay. I know it. My second brother, Victor, in whose imagination this whole thing began to bloom, and he still works all by imagination. He knows what he wants, and then after having decided it in himself, that's what I want, that's good for the business, he then, in his mind's eye, appropriates it and then lets things happen. I really like the word bloom. Began to bloom. As told us in Scripture, the vision has its own appointed hour. It ripens, it will flower. If it be long, then wait. For it is sure, and it will not be late. Habakkuk 2:3. Read that in the book of Habakkuk. Here is the true translation of that passage in Habakkuk. So when you know what you want, remain faithful to that assumption. And the assumption, though at the moment it's denied by your senses and denied by reason, if you persist in it, it will harden into fact. Are we not told that God calls the thing that is not seen as though it were seen, and then the unseen becomes seen? Romans 4:17. He calls everything from the unseen into the seen in this simple manner, for he is the resurrecting power. So if I assume that I am, I don't have to have evidence to support it. I assume that I am what? Well, I name it. And having given it a name, giving it form, giving it definition, remaining in it, resurrect it. And if it takes 1,000 men to aid the birth of that state, 1,000 men will play their parts. And I don't have to go out and look for them any more than my brother had to go out and look for this man. He would have not have known where to start looking for the day of the sale. He would have not have known where to start looking for one the day of the sale. So far as he is concerned, he had done in his mind's eye. He had done it in his mind's eye, and he allowed everything to happen. And he comes right in like a joke. He really thought it was a joke. And he said to this man, "Are you fooling me?" He said, "No." Victor said, "Well, then wait, let me call my father. He's at lunch." He called him on the wire. He said, "Daddy, come on up, leave everything and come." And then he said, "Now you tell my father what you told me." He said, "Yes, Joe, I mean it." Joe's the father's name, Joseph Goddard. "Yes, Joe, I mean it. I'll have him bid today. You put your signature here and your son Victor put his signature. That's all I need." That was a lifetime friendship. So when that man died, he didn't owe my brother Victor anything. He so loved the friendship and the feeling of, well, decency that he had with my brother Victor. He gave him $150,000 in cash, and that was tax-free. And the homes, everything was tax-free. And that building which he bought for $50,000 was sold 3 years ago to the Bank of Nova Scotia. They tore it down and built a lovely structure, but they paid our family $840,000 for it, for that building. And there was no capital gains tax. The whole thing was simply free. So I know what I am talking about. All I need for you is the acceptance of it. Will you believe it? Will you believe that with God all things are possible? Mark 10:27. Will you believe that all things are possible to man? Well, you can prove it in the not distant future, but you are the operant power. It will not work itself. It will not work itself. No one is coming to save you. Hopefully you are. My teacher used to say she would be consulting for these other women, and the women would be waiting for the man, the knight in shining armor. And, they would have a perfectionistic attitude, or they would hope the world was going to do it, or God was going to give her the perfect man to have as a husband. And my teacher would say to me that she would tell him, "Hey, look, the knight in shining armor is not coming. The horse died. So you're going to have to do this on your own." She used to have different ways of saying it, but that was basically the gist of it. This is proof of what's possible here. Going to the end, consistently persisting in the end. Victor did it to an incredible abundance for the entire family. Will you believe it? Well, you can prove it in the not distant future, but you are the operant power. It will not work itself. If you dare to assume this very night that you have a better job than you now hold, or that you have a larger income, you may be fired tomorrow. Don't be concerned. On reflection, you'll see it was necessary to move you towards the fulfillment of your assumption. You could be fired. And I wouldn't bat an eye if you told me tomorrow, "Well, I did what you told me. You know what happened? I was fired." I have seen that. It takes someone to fire you to get you into a better job. I have seen that time and time again. I wouldn't go out and quit the job. You may be promoted in the job, or you may be invited by some other concern that is competitive to join them. I do not know how it happens. I only know if you remain faithful to the assumption, it's going to happen. And you are going to be promoted towards the fulfillment of the state that you dare to assume that is yours. I can tell you unnumbered stories of this nature. So here I say, dwell in the end. The end is where we begin. For if I've seen my name on the marquee, that's the end. I don't wait for the incident to take place in my world to move from one to the other to another, leading to that. Leading up to that, I dwelt in the end. So if I go to the very end, what would it be like were it true? A health case, not how it's going to become better, but you go to the end and you say to someone who isn't well, in your mind's eye, you say to them, you know, I've never seen you look better. And have them say to you, I've never felt better. That's here. Well, now that's confirmation for what you are seeing. You say, I've never seen you look better. Right there. And hear them say to you, well, I've never felt better. But you may say to me, I can't hear people. Oh, yes, you can. You can hear anything you want to hear. You don't have to hear it audibly. Listen, this very moment, you may not know, you may not be able to whistle a tune. Maybe you can't carry a tune in any manner whatsoever. You can't play an instrument. You can't whistle. You can't sing. Well, can you now imagine that you are hearing the battle hymn of the Republic? Listen. Can't you hear it? Can't you augment it 1,000 voices, 10,000 voices? Did you hear it at the funeral of Senator Kennedy? Did you see it on TV? Wasn't that moving when the organ began to peal? Well, the whole vast TV world was filled with it. I doubt there were very many dry eyes when he got through singing the battle hymn of the Republic. Well, I can't sing. I can't whistle a tune, but I can just right now stand here and listen and hear the entire thing swell. If I try to duplicate it with my voice, I couldn't do it, but I can hear his voice as he sang it. You can hear anyone's voice. You can hear the speaker's voice. Tonight alone, you can hear my voice, and you can put upon my voice what you want to hear. And I, unknown to you, will find myself telling you something will happen to confirm what you're hearing. So you can do this for good or ill. I advise you, do it for good. I advise you, do it for good. But the choice is yours. This is what he means when he says the choice and its risk. This is the breakdown. The choice is yours. You can hurt and you can bless. But don't hurt. Use your imagination always lovingly on behalf of others. But to tell you that you could not do it to hurt is stupid. Because you can hurt. It's entirely up to you. I highly suggest you don't go there. But for those of you who are into that, have at it. So you imagine what you want. Believe that you have it and see how it works in the world. Those who scoff at it, well, let them scoff. 5 years from now, when you are on top, they may be working for you and may have even forgotten that they sat in the same audience with you when you heard and believed. And they also heard, but they didn't believe. And so you moved on and they remained behind. That's life. By the way, to the other part of the negative versus the positive, imagining lovingly for somebody versus trying to hurt someone, the danger there, the real danger is when you imagine a negative for another, if they don't accept it, it bounces back to you. I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say about me bounces off me and sticks on you, is literally true. If the person who's the rubber doesn't accept that criticism or that negative thought, it will literally bounce back to the transmitter. So when he says don't do it to hurt, don't hurt, it's not just, hey, be nice. No, it's gonna bite you bad. It's gonna bite you and it's gonna hurt because you send a hurt and someone doesn't accept it. It goes right back to you and it will show up and you won't know from whence it came, but it is your harvest. That's the warning. But There's only one creative power in the universe. Scripture names that power as God, Jesus Christ, the Lord, the same power. Because there aren't two gods, there aren't two lords, there's only one. And that one Christ dwells in us. He did not appropriate a single man as the priesthoods of the world teach. They tell you of a single man, and they single out a man that differs from all men. He isn't dwelling in this man or that man. His desire was to save humanity. And so he dwells in us, not in that particular man. He didn't become this one man, dwelling in one man. Let no one tell you that the Christ in you differs from the Christ, and let them name any one man they want. He cannot differ. If there is a Christ other than that Christ who was crucified within us and who rose and continues to rise in humanity, he's a false Christ. And the teachers who teach of an external, objective, different Christ are false teachers. It's like somebody telling you that this is Christ, and you hang this on the wall, and you put another little thing together with it, and you say that that's Christ. And then you go by and you do a dance on your face with your fingers, and you think that that outside of you is Christ. That is the wrong direction. That would be a false teacher. Christ is within, and he rises within. So you go out and put it to the test. Put it to the extreme test. Christ in us, not out there, is the hope of glory. Christ in us. So this word of which I speak, and the word, by the way, its true definition is meaning. In the beginning, there was meaning to the whole thing. And that meaning was with God. And God himself was the meaning. John 1:1. There is a purpose. There's a plan behind it all. He planned everything as it has to come out. He planned everything as it has come out and as it will be consummated. And the purpose of it all is to awaken in us so that we and he are one. So he actually became us that we may become God. It seems incredible, but it's true. That's the purpose of life. To take humanity and lift it to God so it becomes God. So he became man that man may become God. Now, tonight, you need not confine it to yourself. Take a friend without the friend's consent, without the friend's knowledge, and lift him up. Do you know a friend who is unemployed? Well, then see him as gainfully employed. And don't tell him that you may brag tomorrow. Don't boast. Just see him gainfully employed. Here's a friend of mine in LA, and this man was unmercifully bawled out by his supervisors and told he was no earthly good, and they are considering letting him go. They're going to fire him. Well, the man had no support outside of the job, and he had a family. He told my friend, well, my friend lives by this law. So he said to him, all right, go your way. He didn't tell him what he was going to do. He sat quietly at his desk and heard the man tell him that they praised him beyond measure for something that he had done. It wasn't 48 hours that they had a complete reversal of their attitude towards this man in their praise for something he did in the advertising world. But the blow left its mark, and he said to my friend, yes, they reversed it, but I don't feel easy on the job because they could not have said the unlovely things that they said and forgotten them. So it will come back, and I'm going to quit. I have no money. I'm giving them 2 weeks notice. I'm going to ask them to give me 1 week of the 2 that I can get myself together and maybe take a few days off and just get my thoughts in order. Well, at the end of the 2 weeks, he didn't have a job. My friend When he told him what he was going to do, my friend knew he could not afford to quit and not work. He knew that the friend couldn't. So he saw him gainfully employed and earning 25% more than the present job. He took off the second week. When he came back at the end of the first week, he came into my friend's office and said, "Only yesterday I got the offer. And I start Monday, and I do not lose 1 day's salary. And I start at 25% more than I received on the past job." I have heard this type of thing, man. It works big time. What did it? My friend's imagination. A loving use of the imagination on behalf of a friend. You don't have anything to gain or lose when you imagine lovingly for a friend. That's why it works. It's a seed that falls easily out of your hand. It's no big deal. That's why it works. You're not emotionally attached to the outcome. That's why it works. Had he gone without that imaginal state, he would have walked into the place and the man would have said, "We have nothing," or "We can't use you," or "Why are you quitting?" He didn't ask anything. He simply wanted the man. So if you precede your visit by an imaginal act, they will see you as you see yourself. That's before you walk into a job interview. One of my best friends does that with Ho'oponopono. Before he goes into his potential customers' houses that he visits all the time, he's just, "I love you, thank you. I love you, thank you. How can I best serve you?" They feel that love when he walks in. That's when they hire him, because he's full of that love and that gratitude. They simply wanted the man. They didn't ask him these questions. If you precede your visit by an imaginal act, they will see you as you see yourself. If you walk in knowing that you're no good, they will see you exactly that way. But if you walk in the assumption that things are as you desire them to be, they are going to see you that way. And this is life. That one tiny paragraph. I don't know how many people right now watching are in this situation, but if you listen to that one paragraph, write it down, take it down word for word. I will repeat it right now. If you precede your visit by an imaginal act, they will see you as you see yourself. If you walk in knowing that you're no good, they will see you exactly that way. But if you walk in the assumption that things are as you desire them to be, they're going to see you that way. And this is life. A lot of it summed up right there. I mean, to tell you almost all of it. The law. Now, what a greater claim can anyone make than to acclaim that he is God? And when he claimed it, they said he is blaspheming, for here is a man, and the man claims he is God? The 10th chapter of John, and he said, "Is it not written in your law, I say ye are gods, sons of the Most High?" John 10:34. If he called them gods to whom the word God came, would you say of the one that he anointed and sent into the world that he is blasphemy? Do you know of any greater claim in the world than for a man to identify himself with God and walk as though he were and not be ashamed to admit it? He doesn't go bragging about it, but he knows in his heart he is one with God. For if his imagination is God and he imagines, well, then that's God. And if he imagines a state and it comes to pass, then he knows the creative power that is God. He doesn't have to brag about it and be ashamed of it. He sleeps in a noble state because he is one with God. Therefore, he's found him. Well, let everyone take that attitude and the world will change. Not be beaten, but you can't take the whole vast world if they feel themselves slaves and give them the world. They will want it again tomorrow. Unless a man has self-respect, you can give him all the money in the world and it means nothing. That goes for the individual, it goes for a family, it goes for a race of people, it goes for a nation. As our late President Hoover said, the rise and fall of ideas will determine the rise and fall of men, the rise and fall of nations, the rise and fall of communities. So tell me the idea that a community entertains of itself, and I tell you that community. But now change that idea of itself, and you'll change that community. Let a family feel important in itself. It doesn't have to have a background. Who has a background? So you can go back far enough, and almost everyone who now claims importance would be ashamed of that background. So don't go back, just start where you are, right here. And don't pay anyone to look up your family tree because you're going to pay them to forget it. Just all of a sudden start right now and assume the dignity that is God. That's your real background. It's God, and so assume it. And I'm the family genealogist, and I tell you what, I couldn't agree with him anymore about anything. Just be now, period. This is why Neville, to me, takes the capstone of all of my metaphysical studies, and they've been deep and long, and I've taught and studied and realized and blossomed in my mind, and all of this wonder. All of it's incredible. Wouldn't trade any of it, but Neville knows how to bring you to the now. That one tiny paragraph. Don't go back. Just start where you are. Don't pay anyone to look up your family tree because you are going to pay them to forget it. Just all of a sudden start right now. And assume the dignity that is God. That's your real background. It's God. And so assume it. And then with that assumption, and if you have children, I hope you do, well, then instill that into the child. Instill it into all within the environment and have them feel important. I have no background judged by human standards, either intellectual, financial, or these things. We made it. But mother instilled in us when we did something of which she was ashamed, she would say to us, have you forgotten that you are a Goddard? Well, we didn't know. That must have been very important. Because mother said, have you forgotten that you're a Goddard? Well, I never heard that we had any background, but all of a sudden you begin to feel that you must be important. So mother instilled it into our mind's eye. She made the name important, so today it is important. Where we are in the business sense, in every sense, it's important, but mother did that. And she married a man who had no background and took his name, but she made it important. All right, who has any background? As far as I'm concerned, I refuse to accept the aristocracy of any being in this world other than the aristocracy of the spirit. What other aristocracy? Give me the aristocracy of the spirit, but don't come to me with any physical descent. I'm not an animal. I'm not a horse where you develop it by one horse after the other. I'm God. Exclamation point. We are all God. Exclamation point. You can't go back beyond God. So if that is the start of all of us, well, then that is our root. And so claim it now. At any point in time, claim it. And you'll find yourself being washed clean of anything you might have thought the family tree held. You don't have any family tree. The true Israelite is not a descendant after the flesh, but the elect of God of whatever nation. That's the man of God. So you simply dare to assume that you are that man of God. And then apply what I'm telling you tonight. And may I tell you, in the not distant future, in the immediate present, it will work. If you don't falter and do not change the assumption, If you remain faithful to the assumption, it will harden into fact because imagining creates reality. It does! Exclamation point. Now let us go into the silence. You can do the breathing technique if you want, coming out or not, doesn't matter. And that's my second one. Here comes the top of my third. Inhalation. All right. Good. Now, are there any questions, please? Question. Last night you said you didn't believe in reincarnation. Then how do you explain the fact that, inaudible, Neville, my dear, there is a man in this state today by the name of Krishnamurti. He was a member of the Theosophical Society when Annie Besant and Alcott and that entire crowd ran it. That book is still in print. They brought out a book without his consent. They tried to make him a Christ, the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He didn't deny it. He didn't go against it. He allowed it. And that book came out. And there are literally hundreds of full-page pictures of this so-called reincarnations of the past. One, the male, female, Chinese, Indian, Oriental, Caucasian, all these. I don't think they included the Negro. They hadn't quite integrated them in this setup. And here he went all the way back, but not into the Negro. He was something different. Then when he got big enough and courageous enough to deny it, he denied it. But they had printed those books, and they are still in the library, and they are still in the homes of individuals. And now he will go from the world as they have departed this world, and those who will come tomorrow will not know that it was refuted and will go along and believe it. I tell you, my dear, stick to the Bible. All these are simply theories, man-made theories for one purpose, to make a buck. It's cruel to say that, but I cannot let it go by. 99% of them are in it only for the dollar. It seems cruel, but I'm telling you what I know. I've gone through these many isms. It hasn't a thing to do with spirituality. You are individualized. You tend forever towards greater and greater individualization. You will never lose your identity. You will awaken one day and you are the Lord Jesus Christ himself. Without loss of identity! Exclamation point. That's the great mystery. I will know you, and when you awaken and you are born from above, and you behold the fatherhood of God, you being the Father, I will know you. You will not lose your identity, and yet I will know you to be God. I will know you to be Jesus, as I know you as you are now, and you will not seem strange to you that you are Jesus. And it will not seem strange to you that you are Jesus. You will not bow your head in shame, and yet you will not lose your identity. Question. What about women? The rest of the question is inaudible. Neville, I have had these men and women too who make these claims. You can induce it. You can actually induce it by an assumption. I will give you my own personal experience of the crucifixion. And so it's unlike what the world teaches. I have experienced Scripture. Scripture has been fulfilled in me. I found myself this night in the fulfillment of the 42nd Psalm, which is, and he went with them in the throng to the house of God, Psalm 42:4. He led them in a gay procession to the house of God. Well, here I am in this enormous crowd, all like the Arab world, and as I'm walking with them, a voice out of the blue sings out, and the voice stated, and God walks with them. A woman at my right asked the invisible voice, "And if God walks with us, where is he?" And the voice answered, and all heard the voice, and the voice said, "At your side." She turned to her left, looked me full in the face, and began to laugh. And she said to the voice, "You mean Neville is God?" And the voice answered, "Yes, in the act of waking." Then the voice spoke, but from within me. No one but the speaker heard it then. And the voice said within me, "I laid myself down within you to sleep. And as I slept, I dreamed a dream." I dreamed, and I knew exactly what the end of that sentence would be. He's dreaming that he is I. With that, I became so emotionally thrilled. I felt myself drawn into this body that was on the bed, for this took place in the spirit world. I felt myself drawn into this body, and the hand was a vortex. This hand was a vortex, my head a vortex, my feet vortice, and my side, the right side, a vortex. And I knew then what the crucifixion was. It was sheer ecstasy. It wasn't painful at all. You can't describe the thrill of these 6 vortices nailing me to this body. So we are told in the 10th chapter of John, "No one takes away my life. I lay it down myself. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to lift it up again." John 10:18. And in spite of that statement, they teach year after year that a group of men murdered him and nailed him to a wooden cross. He is not nailed to any wooden cross. And he did it willingly. The universal Christ is nailed on humanity. This is the cross right here. We are the cross. And he did it willingly. I lay it down myself. No one took it from me. And I experienced that night. So you can bring all the arguments in the world about this little stigmata, that little stigmata. There was no blood running there. The whole hand, both hands, whirling vortices, and the head a whirling vortex, and the side a whirling vortex, and both feet, the soles of my feet, vortices, and there are 6. Yes, sir. Question. I was going to ask you how you interpret the role of Judas Iscariot. Neville. Judas, I am self-betrayed. No one knows me but myself. No one knows the thoughts of a man but the spirit of man who dwells in him. Likewise, no one knows the thoughts of God but the Spirit of God. Therefore, if I betrayed God, I would have to be the Spirit of God. One who has the secret, and so it is self-betrayed. One night in a room about the size of this, here I am sitting on the floor with 12 men before me sitting on the floor. We're all dressed in robes, and I am teaching the Word of God. A man, one of these 12, jumps up quickly, and the moment he jumped up, I knew exactly what he was going to do. He was going to tell the authorities what I was teaching. He went to the only door. As he went through it, I knew what would happen. A tall, handsome man, about 6'4", in most costly robes, came in, erect, a man of about 40 or 44. He walked straight down the side, turned at right angles, walked down the side, turned at right angles, and then walked down the middle. But as he entered, he was one of such authority, we all rose. He was one of tremendous authority in that community, and we all stood at attention. I, facing my 11 men, he came on down and he turned towards me, and he took a wooden mallet and a wooden peg, and he hammered it into my right shoulder, blow after blow into my shoulder. Then he took a very sharp instrument, and with one circular motion like this, he severed my sleeve and then pulled it and pulled off the sleeve and discarded it. And I saw it a lovely shade of light baby blue. Then he stretched his arms out this way, and he embraced me and kissed me on the right side of my neck. And I kissed him on the right side of his neck. And I kissed him, still embracing him. The whole scene faded. Here is the 53rd chapter of Isaiah. To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Isaiah 53:1. It's all symbolism. But the whole thing is true. That was the betrayal. For you are now nailed. The peg goes in, for as you are told, I will now put upon you all the authority of Israel, and you will rule it for a season. Then I will break the peg, and that weight that you carry will be taken from you. But who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Isaiah 53:1. He unveils the right arm, which is the symbol of power. At that moment in time, when he rises in you, and you are going to rule as he rules, and that's the story. So the whole story is true, but it's all vision. It's not secular history, it's salvation history. And the world treats the whole Bible as secular history, and it's not secular history at all. The whole thing takes place above. He said, I am from above, and ye are from below. You are of this world. I am not of this world. John 8:23. And so the whole drama is unfolding from above. It's a mystical drama. Any other questions, please? Question inaudible. Inaudible on the tape. Neville, well, freedom is that age. No one is free by dying here, because death here is restoration in a world just like this. No one, I don't care who you are. You could be 90 years old now, and if you drop this very moment, you are restored to life. Not as an infant. Some are 20 years of age. You are not old. You are young, and any missing part, teeth, hair, limbs, are all restored. Unbelievably new and unaccountably new. You can't account for it. How can someone cremated, turned to dust, stand before me 20 years old when they dropped? They look like 1,000. They were so old and withered. And here suddenly before me stands this beautiful, either woman or man, 20 years old, in a world terrestrial just like this, in a body that is physical just like this. Cut it, it will bleed. And they age there as they age here, and they die there as they die here. And so there's no escape from this until resurrection. And resurrection comes to the individual. It doesn't come collectively. It comes while we are walking this earth. The individual is raised and set free from this bondage to decay, and becomes then one with the risen Lord, because there's only one body, one Spirit, one Lord, one God and Father of all. See Ephesians 4:4-6. Question, what about a child when a child dies? Neville, it continues to grow. Continues to grow. He is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. The world is the world of the dead. People won't believe it. Everything here is dead. If you see it from above, well, you'd have to see it to understand what I'm talking about. If you see this from above, everything is here. Everything here is like, well, something that is dead. And you can come down and you can't change it from above. Strangely enough, I have tried to change it from above. Look at this body, or excuse me, look at the body. It's on the bed, and it looks like something like a carcass that is dead. Well, you know exactly the wisdom is from above. If you could only do with it now while you are here, excuse me, if you could only do with it now while you are there with the clarity of vision, but you can't do it. You've got to come down and occupy it. And then you forget. This is the world of death. A question about animals not audible on the tape. End of lecture. Most profound. One of the greatest of all of his lectures. It's not included in the 1968 lecture book by Natalie Don't have it in front of me, but I don't see the name of it right in front of me. This is Live in the End, 1968, July 19th, 1968. So I put it out in a separate sequence, but we'll do, when we do the 1968 lectures, I'm about finishing up the 65 lectures. We're going to go, of course, through 1966 and 67 before we get to this era, 68, which is a profound year. Very, very thick book of lectures. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one.